Barcelona have announced the signing of Raphinha from Leeds for €58 million, while a deal to acquire Lewandowski from Bayern for €50 million is agreed in principle. The question is, how can they possibly afford these players, given their well-documented financial problems? That is like the most sophisticated case study in an advanced master program of international sports management. Okay, I'm coming with a thread straight away to explain it in details. Considering most football fans have had similar thoughts in their minds for a while now. Only last month Laporta compared Barca to a patient who was practically dead in financial terms, while the vice president for finance Eduard Romeu said that €500 million was needed to save the club. This was not surprising, given the magnitude of Barcelona's financial issues. Although things have moved on since the most recent accounts for the 2020-21 season, it's worth reviewing these to explain why so many fans are scratching their head at the summer's spending. After many profitable years, Barca slumped to a €133 million pre-tax loss in 2020, followed by a shocking €555 million loss in 2021, which was by some distance the worst in Europe. In fact, this was the highest loss ever reported by a football club. Barca's total debt, including bank loans, transfer fees, wages, tax authorities, and other creditors, has more than tripled in the last 5 years to stand at €1.20 BLN, the third highest in Europe, only below Chelsea, Abramovich-friendly loans, and Spurs, funding a new stadium. Barca have had to pay a heavy price for this debt growth, as interest payments have shot up from just €1 million in 2018 to €41 million in 2021, which was comfortably the highest in Europe, ahead of Atletico €30 million, Man United €23 million and Spurs €21 million. Like all football clubs, one way that Barcelona have managed to sign these players is by paying the transfer fees in stages. Even though they managed to reduce transfer debt to €231 million in 2021, this was still the second largest in Europe, again only behind Juventus. Of course, Barca do not benefit from owner funding, loans and share capital, unlike many other leading clubs, whose business model is reliant on benevolent owners, e.g. in the last 10 years Inter and Milan have received over €900 million, with Chelsea and City just under €800 million. So the financial situation at Barca at the end of the 2020-21 season was pretty terrible, though there are a few signs of encouragement if we dig a little deeper into the numbers. The good news is that Barca's debt has been restructured with a 10-year €595 million loan at 1.98%, replacing old short-term debt. Before the refinancing, this was a major issue, as €596 million had to be repaid within 12 months. This was the highest in Europe, much more than other clubs. It is also worth noting that Barca's €555 million loss was significantly impacted by €271 million once-off costs following the due diligence report, including €161 million player impairment, €26 million other impairment and €84 million provisions, lawsuits, tax cases, which will not be repeated. As a result of the significant impairment, writing down player values, Barca will enjoy two financial advantages going forward. 1. Player amortization will fall. B. Any player sales will generate higher profits. Similarly, Barca's loss included a €92 million net impact for COVID. The revenue reduction was €219 million, mainly stadium €181 million and commercial €56 million, while expenses were cut €127 million, deferred wages €60 million, savings from not opening stadium and stores €64 million. This means that Barcelona 2021 underlying loss, i.e. excluding the €271 million once-off charges and €92 million COVID impact, was only €193 million, as opposed to the reported €555 million. To be clear, this is still an awful figure, but nowhere near as horrific as the headline number. However, the most problematic issue for Barcelona is the salary cap imposed by La Liga's economic cost control, specifying how much each club is allowed to spend on first-team players, reserves, academy, coaches, physios, etc. Each season La Liga calculates a club's salary cap as revenue less non-sporting expenses and debt repayments. In contrast to UEFA's financial fair play rules, which look at previous years, La Liga's regulations are applied in advance, i.e. before any spending takes place. If a club is over its salary cap, it can only use 25% of any savings made, or transfer gains, on bringing in new players, with the other 75% used to reduce existing liabilities. If the player accounts for more than 5% of squad cost, then amount available to invest rises to 50%. La Liga president Javier Tebas previously explained, if Barcelona sell a player for €100 million, they can only spend €25 million. If they want to bring in a player who costs them €25 million a season in salary, they must earn €100 million, either by transfer or salary reduction. However, recently La Liga relaxed the salary cap in two important ways as a result of losses caused by the pandemic. First, the 1:4 rule has become 1:3 for the summer 2022 transfer window, i.e. a club can now use 33% of any savings made or transfer profits on player purchases. Second, a club can cushion the effect of losses caused by COVID by only having to include a smaller percentage of the losses in its salary cap calculation, 15% in 2022/23, 20% in 2023/24 and 2024/25, and 22.5% in 2025/26 and 2026/27. However, Barcelona was the only club with a negative €144 million salary cap in La Liga in the winter transfer window 2021/22, driven by the huge reported loss, effectively caused by the large provisions. This is even lower than the €98 million cap they were given in the summer window. That said, if Barca revenue could bounce back to pre-pandemic levels, then the salary cap would also climb. 2 years ago this was the highest in Spain at €671 million, even more than Real Madrid's €641 million, so all is not yet lost, albeit an immensely difficult balancing act. Barca's challenge is illustrated by the fact that La Liga has not yet allowed the club to register the new signings, even though the club has already announced the arrivals of Lewa, Rapinha plus a couple of free transfers, Kessie from Milan and Christensen from Chelsea. Barca's wage bill is still miles over the salary cap, with the last reported figure being €432 million in 2020/21, excluding other sports, even though this was well down from the €501 million peak in 2019. This was second highest in Europe, only surpassed by PSG €503 million. As a result, Barcelona have had to let players leave in order to reduce the wage bill, most notably Messi on a free transfer, but also Coutinho to Villa for a cut price €20 million. Others have left on loan, including Griezmann to Atleti, Pjanic to Besiktas and Lenglet to Spurs. Laporta said, certain players have salaries that are not adequate to the limits that the board has set for next season. Some adjustments will have to be made. New deals for Dembele and Sergi Roberto were on lower wages, while Pique, Busquets and Alba accepted cuts last season. Other tactics include extending player contracts, Umtiti, signing players with low salaries in first year, Aubameyang, and deferring salaries to a later date. All this fancy footwork is designed to enable the registration of new players, e.g. Ferran Torres from Man City in January. One reason why Barca posted such a large loss in 2020/21 was generating only €4 million profit from player sales, which they will look to address, as this activity produces a double whammy in terms of meeting the salary cap, the gain from the sale plus savings on the wage bill. Barca have a long list of possible, even desired, departures, e.g. Umtiti, Nito, Serginho Dest, Braithwaite and Riqui Puig. However, unless they sell one of the young talents, such as Pedri or Gavi, the only player that would generate big money is Frenkie de Jong. Although Laporta has said he does not want de Jong to leave, it's clearly a possibility, though the attempt to persuade Frenkie to give up wages he deferred to help the club through its predicament is morally wrong, especially with the club spending on new signings. It should be remembered that Barcelona are still capable of generating high revenue. Even though it fell by nearly a third in the last 2 years, their €582 million in 2020/21 was still fourth best in the world, albeit they had the highest revenue in both 2019 and 2020. Before the pandemic struck, Barca claimed that they were on track to be the first football club in the world to generate more than €1 billion annual revenue. If they can replicate this performance after COVID diminishes, their salary cap will correspondingly increase. In fact, Barca claimed to have lost nearly half a billion revenue, €447 million, in the last 2 years due to COVID, comprising €203 million in 2019/20 plus €244 million in 2020/21. This was mainly from matchday €248 million and commercial €128 million. Barca have signed a new sponsorship deal with Spotify, but worth noting this covers shirt, stadium naming rights and training kit. Based on the reported €70 million, this is actually lower than the previous deals with Rakuten and Beko, though more than the 2021/22 extensions. However, Barca's main strategy to return to a sound financial footing earlier than expected is to activate economic levers. Laporta said this would bring us back into the black, pay off the debt and make the investments required for our teams to be more competitive. This sounds great, but what Barca are really doing is selling off some family silver to generate short-term profits in order to meet the salary cap, but the price will be future mortgage payments, TV rights, or lower revenue, BLM, Barcelona licensing and merchandising. Barcelona have sold 10% of their La Liga TV rights, excluding Champions League, for €207.5 million to US investment firm 6th Street for 25 years. Based on current €166 million revenue, that would mean annual payment of €16.6 million, so total payment of €414 million, i.e. twice the money received. Barca want to sell a further 15% TV rights for €400 million, which would generate the €600 million required for transfer activity. Romeu said this deal was better than La Liga CVC agreement, 8.2% over 50 years, as that had no buyback option and prevented the club joining a future ESL. In addition, Barca might sell 49.9% of BLM, which they think could generate €200 to €300 million. Romeu said that licensing and merchandising is a significant source of income with major potential, given the strength of the Barca brand, but needed collaboration with strong partners. There is yet another hurdle for Barcelona to clear, as members have recently approved the Espai Barca project to remodel the Camp Nou stadium and develop the surrounding areas, which will require an additional €1.50 BLN loan from Goldman Sachs on top of existing debt. Barcelona have not given up hope of being able to join a European Super League. Given their financial challenges, this is unsurprising, especially when looking at figures reported in the media, which included a €270 million welcome bonus plus another €60 million for Barca and Real Madrid. As Xavi said, we have to strengthen to compete for all the trophies. This requires new signings to help deliver success on the pitch and reverse the recent downward revenue trend, e.g. European TV money dropped from €118 million to €69 million since 2019. While these machinations mean Barca can probably meet La Liga salary cap and therefore sign the likes of Rapinha and Lewandowski, this strategy is clearly a gamble, essentially hoping that it will drive success on the pitch and generate more money in the future. Even though Laporta claimed, this will all take place under the criteria of financial sustainability and prudence, it does feel like this approach of short-term gain, long-term pain means that Barcelona have learned precious few lessons from the mistakes of the past.